Right. Once again, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. It's pleasure to see you all join us on a Saturday. So that means doubly to us that you have chosen to spend your afternoon with lead angels. So, uh, for everyone who are joining us for the first time, request to keep yourself on mute while others are having a conversation, and then after Punit speaks and the agenda is complete, I'll let you know and you can put your questions in the chat box. We'll take up one by one and we will answer those questions as well from your end. So to quickly set the agenda, today we are talking about future of crypto, how regulations are changing and acceptance of crypto as an asset class. So before we start, as we all know, cryptocurrency is one of the most discussed topics along with politics and IPL in India. And everybody seems to have an opinion on the same. So our aim is to just to bring an objective opinion or objective perspective from an expert on what are the regulations like and how it has evolved as an asset class. Personally, I started hearing about crypto from I think second year of my college when a third year senior invested in Bitcoin, and recently in like I think 2015 or 16, yeah, 16, 17, he became a Bitcoin millionaire. So that's the journey I had with crypto. And KV also once shared an interesting story with me where that he had mined bunch of cryptocurrencies when he had an access to a supercomputer during its master's days and didn't know the value and forgot the password of the wallet. So there is some amusing stories to crypto from all of us. But again, let's bring the industry perspective on what we are looking at. And just to set the context a bit more, we are trying to learn a bit more on how to navigate regulatory changes. Regulatory landscape of cryptocurrencies changing rapidly. As we all know, it's a very new asset class. Even regulators are trying to catch up worldwide on how to probably tax or control this new asset. So again, also as an investment opportunity, cryptocurrency and blockchain technology, they offer a very unique investment opportunities. We want to understand at a macro level. Obviously, we are not going to go deep dive because again, the time today will not be enough if we deep dive. So we want to go at a macro level to understand how these assets are now being accepted across the world and how we assess the potential and sustainability of this asset class. Also, again, it's a very volatile market as we have seen in last 2 3 years. We want to see how to mitigate the risks again at a macro level and influencing policies. What are the policy changes that are happening around the world? Are they tailwinds or headwinds for this asset class? And also strategic positioning of cryptocurrencies. As we all know, I am assuming, stock market trading was also relatively new at one point of time. And now it is widely accepted across the globe. So do we see a crypto becoming something like this? How do we take a strategic positioning in this up and coming asset class? We just want to guide or conduct this very small seminar with our members to guide them on how to navigate this tricky landscape. But before we start, as always, a one disclaimer that we want to provide is that this is not an endorsement or recommendation for investing in cryptocurrencies. It is our effort to bring clarity to a widely discussed topic, offering insights into regulatory landscape. We are not even going to deep dive into the asset class per se. We want to learn more about regulatory landscape around cryptocurrencies and acceptance of cryptocurrencies as an asset class. So
And on a lighter note, continue to invest in Lead Angels Fund and not in crypto. Yes.
Yes. So, yeah, now to start with our guest speaker today, Punit Agarwal. Uh, Punit Agarwal has over 7 years of experience Puneet has dwelled deep into blockchain and Web3. Currently, he is building Coinex with the mission to simplify crypto accounting and taxation globally. Puneet also had a privilege of leading the Crypto Relief Fund, a 500 million USD impact fund started by Sandeep Nailwal, co-founder of Polygon, with a significant contribution of Shiba Inu coin, and also founder of Ethereum. Beyond CoinX, Puneet collaborates with incredible minds in blockchain, exploring the intricacies of NFTs, DeFi, and real world assets. Together, again, they aim to contribute meaningfully to this evolving landscape. Puneet remains committed to giving back and supporting the community as they collectively navigate the exciting and challenging world of blockchain. So, Puneet, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Navina, and thank you, Hanumanji, and everyone at Lead Angels team for inviting me here and letting me share my thoughts and interacting with everyone with the larger team and helping them understand, giving a quick walkthrough about what this industry looks like. Yep, thanks a lot for inviting me. Uh, Without a further ado, I think, I'll just straight away start in with talking about a bit about my background and then talking about, like what we do at understanding in the future of crypto, what's happening in the space, how the space has evolved over a period of time, what are the future landscape that we can expect in terms of regulations, in terms of investment opportunities, what could be the areas around. So, yep, would like to, like with the limited time that I have, would love to share a macro picture. But yeah, I'm always available in case anyone else wants to have any further discussion around and talk in a specific topic, and happy to do that offline. But yeah, also happy to take in questions later this session. So in case you have any question around, happy to answer them over here. So is my screen visible?
Yes, yes, Puneet, please go ahead.
Sounds great, cool. So yep, as Navina was mentioning, and so I started my journey in blockchain about 7 years ago. Uh, from 2017 to 2020 days, taught more than 10,000 people in this space, largely developers, largely student engineering students. They understood what crypto is, what blockchain is, what how do they start writing their first smart contracts, developing their first set of application. So that was my journey from 2017 to 2020. Then 21 to 22, I was the CEO of Crypto Relief Fund. Crypto Relief was a $500 million impact fund, one of the first kinds of fund globally, and till date one of the largest funds in the crypto industry in the impact space. So very notable people are involved with this. So founder of Ethereum, the Vitalik Buterin, founder of Polygon, like Sandeep Nelwal, Balaji Srinivasan, the tech innovator. All of them were part of this fund, and like I had the opportunity to lead that day. Post that, I started understanding more around the compliance regulations aspect, and there, like realized that way forward for crypto industry is with regulations, and that is where started building Coinex, which deals into financial compliances. So it's basically a financial management suite of softwares that helps people who are dealing in cryptocurrencies with their taxation, accounting, reconciliation, and many other requirements. So that is a bit about me. uh, Diving straight and like uh, addressing the elephant in the room, what is crypto? So all of us might be like hearing about कि ठीक है, मतलब we might have a partial understanding कि crypto है Bitcoin, like Ethereum, yeah, Solana, Ripple. We might have heard these terms around, right? But yep. So would anyone like to talk about what do you think of, or what comes into your mind first when you hear the word crypto? Anyone, like, feel free to unmute
You may
and then talk about.
you may want to go full screen, Punit, present mode.
Oh yeah, sure. Thanks for the. So yep. Anyone want to just quickly unmute and or raise hands and just talk about, like, let's keep it more conversational. I do not have a lot of slides which for which I'll need a lot of time. So I
Very
want to
high,
keep it more. Yes,
very high volatility.
very high volatility. Amazing. Okay. More
Puneet,
anyone
I
else?
always feel when I hear about crypto that it is a fraud. One day it will siphon the money and people will go away.
Interesting.
I'm in favor of digital currency, but
Right.
somewhere I am not in favor of cryptos.
Makes sense. Thanks for bringing this perspective, Piyush. Anyone else? Let's
Random
see.
coins appearing out of nowhere, someone
Random
launching a
coins
new
appearing out
coin.
of nowhere. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Nilanja, thanks.
Pretty
So,
much whatever you said, I mean, that's the basic knowledge that uh, any amateur has on crypto.
right. Sorry. What did you start with? I missed that.
I said pretty much whatever you said,
That's pretty much whatever I said.
4, 5 coins, and then of course you have another 100 coins which are
Ah.
unheard of.
Right. ठीक है. Makes
Uh,
sense. Any other
yeah, I
thoughts? Yes,
yeah,
Sanjay.
I think another thing is that, as a uh, point, so as a collateral benefit, non-fungible tokens are something which can be applied on in daily life without getting too much into the currency part of it.
Very interesting. Thanks, Sanjay, for bringing in this. I'll be covering more about it. The point that you mentioned it. So very, very interesting and very valid point. Any other thoughts from the larger group? Okay, so if I narrow down about what's happening or what the larger thought is, so there is a lot of negativity around. And once we hear about crypto, we tend to see whether it's illegal, whether it's highly speculative, highly regulated, or like something that can be just something that does not have fundamentals, something that can just vanish away someday. So these are the some of the higher level thoughts that came in, and this is natural. This is how the media has been portraying about it. This is how few government organizations and few ministers slash officers have been talking about it, and hence the larger audience has this perspective. But if I have to like decouple the crypto ecosystem entirely altogether, so in terms of what crypto is, it's basically a coin, uh, or a like you can call it as an asset, you can call it as a uh, like security. There are different types of crypto, but then in natural it is something that is generated by like uh, signing or creating a set of transactions cryptographically. So there is a cryptographic, which is a mathematical term, like that involves about uh, how do we like securely with hashes, with uniqueness, with adding few properties around, how do we start creating a new set of tokens or coins, and then how do we use that coins in future perspectives. So this is fundamental definition of what crypto is, something that is generated by a mathematical logic, uh, and is used for something. Now what can this be used for? That is what we'll be covering in. So if I have to broadly like look at the cryptocurrencies, right? So a lot of people just think कि हाँ ठीक है यार 4-5 coins ही है and it's just about it, just about speculation, just about like someone random person coming and creating a coin, and then that Elon Musk or someone else promoting it up on Twitter and the price increases. That is one aspect to it, which is largely popular. But then once we actually start understanding in this space, it has I would categorize cryptocurrencies largely into 5 different categories. One is where it acts as a utility altogether. What I mean by utility is, let's say I want to use it for a certain purpose. For example, Ripple, for example, Ethereum. Now, if I have to do transactions on Ethereum network, I need Ether as a coin to fulfill my transactions. Let's say, giving an analogy, if I want to drive a car, I need fuel to be put in my car, and then these fuel acts in like to keep running the engine and keep moving the car away. So the fuel is acting as a utility there. Similarly, in order to run a particular chain, in order to run the transactions on it, in order to pay for the transactions, and in order to uh, incentivize the network to do certain things, that is where a coin is created. And this coin has a utility that anything that's happening on that network, it is powered by this particular coin. So this is an example of a utility token, for example. Then there is a transactional. Bitcoin is a very phenomenal example of transactional sort of cryptocurrencies, which is primarily made and built in form of using it as a payment infrastructure, using it as a transaction infrastructure. I want to pay, let's say Mukund, some amount, and I am paying that in cryptocurrencies. So that is a transactional nature of crypto. Now here the examples could be like likes of Bitcoins of the world. Then there is a security type of cryptocurrency, like cryptocurrencies that are created against real world assets. These real world assets could be a property, five-star property that is coming up in Goa, or could be, like a residential tower coming in Gurgaon, could be a art, like a fine art that has in the it's actually a canvas painting which is worth over, let's say, few $1 million, created by a famous artist, and then like there are tokens created on top of it so that the larger people can start investing in that asset class altogether. So that can be a security angle to it. There can be real estate. Let's say all of us or majority of us sitting here in India, we want to buy properties in US, and let's say we want to buy a hotel in Vegas. Now, individually, most of us might not be, like able to contribute in and buy the entire hotel down. But let's say together we come in and pool. Today we have about 31 people on this call. So let's say 31 people pooling in $1 million each. We have $31 million. Now with this 31 million, maybe we can set up a small, like infra there in Vegas, and then own a property. And then each of us could be micro owners of that larger property. And this entire narrative could be controlled by, or, the entire thing can be tokenized. For example, today we are looking at startup investments where companies are creating in syndicates, special purpose vehicles, funds are being pulled in, and these pooled funds are then transferred to company as a single check investments. So exactly similar thing is happening in, but this can also be powered by cryptocurrencies. And there the transparency, there the ownership, everything is like pretty transparent and clear. So that is another layer of cryptocurrencies. So what the larger purpose of the slide is, what we think as cryptocurrency as just one line of thought, wherein ki theek hai yaar, crypto is used for speculation, and crypto is used for ki some random person is coming in and then creating something. That is not the only, that's not the way how the industry is looking at it. The industry is looking at it from solving different problems that the world has today, and how do we use this technology to be able to solve these problems better. And now imagine, like, uh, in the entire fine art space. Globally, there are a handful of people who can buy paintings which are each worth, let's say, like $10 million, $15 million, $20 million. And these are asset class that has a history to it. They're like from last 400 years, 500 years, people are collecting art, they're investing into art. And then, but even today, only a handful of people across the globe can do this. How do we democratize this entire space? How do we bring in that one painting can have 1,000 owners, 10,000 owners, 1 lakh owners, and everyone owns a fraction part of it? Without technology, without clear, like legislation system around, it would be very difficult, because, like we all are aware about how prevalent land disputes are in India, where, like a larger land gets divided among even within the brothers, and then they fight upon who owns the larger inch, or who owns the larger patch in that ecosystem then. So now imagine there are 1 lakh people owning one single painting. So how complex would that infra be without tokens like these? So this is where utilities are coming in, security backed tokens are coming in. Now then there is an entire model of governance. How do we like, so this is a concept that is being worked on very widely by Balaji Srinivasan as well, where he's creating world state. And the concept behind this is, how do we create organizations that are driven by community? Community decides, community votes for what needs to be done, community is participating in decision making inside, like when I say community, it's largely people who are using the application. So let's say today, Uber as a company decides how the search price algorithm would be, and they decide when do they want to hike the prices of a cab that you're booking in for, or when do they want to, like allot you the prices or change the pricing around. But rather, let's say the larger users or a segment of users are deciding that criteria rather than the company doing it. Then there would be more transparency. Then there would be more, like people would be able to relate to the brand better. People would be able to trust the brand better. And then it brings in another layer of benefits around it. Now, how do we decide who gets to participate in these decisions? For if I have to take an example of this with respect to stock companies, there are shareholders, and then shareholders have a voting power towards the shares that they are holding in, let's say, on a pro rata basis. Similarly, if I'm holding a coin of a project, meaning I'm holding a fraction of a project, how can I start voting and being participating in the decisions that is being taken by the project, and in terms of what are the next set of roadmaps that needs to build, and in terms of what are the next set of activities that the project is working on, what are the pipelines, what are the expansion criterias, all of it. So that is where there are set of cryptocurrencies that are created and which involve primarily in governance ecosystem. Uniswap is one of the biggest example in the space. Uniswap is one of the largest decentralized exchange, basically a platform where you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies, but not owned by uh, a group of people, or not having a set of people running that show, like Binance, like FTX. So these are not the ones. These are completely decentralized exchanges. So there, the community decides what happens with the user funds there. The community decides how the matchmaking is happening in between the orders. What is the brokerage fee that needs to be deducted, and how the uh, different set of coins would be listed on that particular platform. So all of it is driven by the community, and there is a governance token of UNI, which rules this. And then there is another criteria which I would call as platform. So let's say, like, in order to run a platform, there needs to be a few fees or few coins that is involved to run the platform. For example, Solana as a blockchain, Polygon as a blockchain. People need to stake Solana coins. People need to stake as an uh, fixed deposit. So people need to put certain coins as a fixed deposit to be able to participate in decision making there. Now this token is being used to make decisions around. This token is used to run the platform, to keep incentivizing the larger people to come and start validating transactions there, come and start authenticating the transactions there. So largely the idea is, like, crypto acts as an agent of like participating, like letting users participate in blockchain. So blockchain is the larger technology, and crypto is one of the use case around it. And blockchain is where people come in. There are, like, it's kind of a decentralized ecosystem, like where all of us together come and participate in things around. We There's no one owner of information. There is no one owner of data. There is no one owner of the organization. Collectively, people drive that entire initiative down. And then there are cryptocurrencies that help you create the security layer around it, create the governance layer around it, create the platform layer around it, and then you decide and drive how this cryptocurrencies can be used to run the entire narrative. So I would like to take a pause here, because, like, this might be a lot of fancy words that are coming in now, and could be overwhelming for, initially to look at. But largely the idea is, crypto is not just about speculation. Crypto is not just about like uh, just gambling and trading, या ठीक है, random coins generating out of thin air. There are, I agree, there are some coins around like that, but then once we start looking at understanding the space largely deeper into it, there are tons of projects that has very clear guidelines and restrictions around what their coins are to be used for, how they are to be created, when they would be created, what is the milestone in future for that project coming around, and who are the people backing in, who are the people running that show, all of it around. So there are fundamentals involved. There are like details involved in terms of how the project is being ruled. There are tokenomics involved in terms of, let's say, the company decides, I have 10 million coins. Now out of this 10 million, how many would the founders be holding? How many would be the ESOP pool? How many of this would be used by giving as cashbacks or giveaways to the community? How many of this would be open for investments? Similar to how we have cap table arrangements in the equity projects, in crypto coins, they have tokenomics, which decide and drive around how their tokens would be used by each of these players, and how they are planning to use this in the near future.
So, Puneet, sorry to
Yes.
interrupt. Um, so, just to simplify ourselves, our understanding here, so you're saying cryptocurrency in sort of way, or a token metric is in sort of way like a private limited,
Could be.
and
So
there is rules that are associated with distributions of its shares of a private limited.
correct. That's one way of looking at it, which is the security angle. So if
Yeah.
you're looking at it from a security point of view, then yes, you would be treating crypto as an asset, where you'd be investing in, like in the project against the asset that you're receiving in, similar to investing into a company and receiving shares of it. So in one angle, crypto can be equivalently considered as shares, and then shares or any other securities of a company, and whatever rights slash like rules regulations come in around the shares, similar of it can be parallelly created for cryptocurrencies. So that
Yeah,
is one aspect of it.
right. So just to simplify here, so we are
Right.
taking about real estate asset class being an underlying asset, right? Real
Correct.
estate asset being an underlying asset even for a crypto, this thing. So equivalent of that would be I formed a private limited, I bought a property on it, because obviously I can't buy a property on private limited, but just a crude example of it. I bought a property of with that private limited, and then I distributed the shares of it to the investors.
Correct. Correct. And this way, now technically, if you have to do the traditional route, then there are a lot of documentations, paperwork. There is a lot of restrictions around, let's say, the FEMA compliances, RBI, and how much of funds can be invested in from foreign to India, how many of it could be. But with and then the entire process of transferring the funds, receiving the securities, shares, and all of that. Here, it's almost instantaneous,
Right.
while the documentation and compliance guidelines had to be followed, but all the other parts of it, like transferring and receiving the assets, governing about. So let's say tomorrow the company that is buying this real estate, the promoters of it get malicious, and they want to game the system. They want to sell away the property without informing others, and then they want to include few other things around. This cannot be done with cryptocurrency ecosystem. There would be like rule, we call it as smart contracts. So
That's
there can
right.
be smart contracts derived about in terms of how the entire property would be owned, how much of dividend would be shared with the larger group members. If there's a rent collected from that property, how would that be divided around? All of it can be coded, and you need to just trust the platform without trusting an individual.
Right, right. So at the same time, it also brings liquidity to sort of a more illiquid sort of investments, right? Like when we
Correct.
are taking a partnership firm or an LLP, uh, typically an illiquid investment. But when
Correct.
we are tokenizing the similar thing, there is a liquidity. You can probably list it on an exchange, and that can be traded, which
Correct.
provides liquidity to existing guys.
Exactly correct.
Along with the layer of security, obviously,
Correct.
because the control is not very high by the promoter per se.
True. So transparency, liquidity, accessibility, like anonymity, or could be like in a self ownership point of view. So these are the factors, or these are the values that the industry brings along with it.
Understood. Understood. Please go ahead. Sorry for interrupting. Please go ahead.
Like, no, thanks for asking this, Navina. Would take a pause if there's any other question around this, like any other thoughts.
So Punit, Hanuman here.
Yes.
Uh, so let's go back to the beginning.
Sure.
So the initial fear, which may have come, say, 10 years back, is
Right.
that crypto is not issued by central government authorities or central banks.
Correct.
So if they are not guaranteed by central government and central banks, they are not a uh, 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 safe currency, or it's not something which is transactable or exchangeable and so on and so forth. This is one.
Hmm.
Second thing is that in today's term, like supposing you go and buy real estate somewhere, and therefore if you compare it, saying that even that is not issued by central bank, that real estate is issued by somebody else, you are buying it, but you're paying by a currency which is like a dollar or a rupee or a pound or something, which is assured by. So I promise to pay is not written on crypto, is what I'm
Right.
trying to say. Then the second thing I'm asking you, which is related, is that are you meaning to say that for a certain type of a transaction, which like property purchase in a certain place, there are specific kind of cryptos issued? So these are two unrelated subjects. I'm just asking you. First is
Ex-
very basic. The other is very latest.
Sure. So answering the first part, and answer, like the way I look at it is, so this is something that so there are, while the name is cryptocurrencies altogether, there are way of looking at how crypto can be used in. And one, Bitcoin was started from a transactional point of view. Bitcoin was started from a payment point of view to being the payment infra layer of the world. But then different countries, for obvious reasons, they would not want this to happen, since this might decouple their existing currencies that are issued by the central banks. And hence they have clearly mentioned, or a lot of countries have came up with guidelines slash regulations that crypto would not be used as a currency. Crypto would be used as an asset or a utility, but not as a currency. And like it would not be the global payment infrastructure layer. But this is what the government stance is. But let's say if I had to transact with you, and you have a property, let's say, to sell in Mumbai, I want to buy that property. Now, among both of us, we decide what the payment terms are and what the mode is, right? So if you are comfortable accepting Bitcoins against the property that you are selling to me, and I am okay to give you Bitcoins against the property that I'm buying for you, handshake, the transaction is done. Immaterial whether you believe or whether Bitcoin had been issued by the RBI, whether it was not issued by RBI, but if the buyer and seller are accepting it as a mode of instrument to complete the transaction, it's as good as that, right? So if both of us are comfortable taking in Bitcoins and transacting on it, I don't see why this cannot happen. And among us, we can just complete this transaction round. We can have all the agreements, guidelines prepared around it, and it can be used as, let's say, barter, similar to, let's say, I barter shares in the company and then give it to you,
Yes,
and then
yes.
you use that for something else. So could be a barter kind of an arrangement that can be
Absolutely.
right.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, others, Mukund, somebody is on queue.
Yes.
Please unmute yourself and answer.
Nilanjay, you want to go first? I saw your hand raised
Sure.
first. So.
Thank you. So one of the questions has been already answered. So thanks for asking that, Hanumanji. And my second question is basically, what I've learned so far is that mainly crypto is around projects, right? So people are interested in a project and tokens are issued and then people invest in it. So why do people are interested in these projects? Like there can be a buy demand, but then how does the sell demand occur so that they can sell these tokens on the exchange? So how does that work in the economy?
So similar to the shares of a company. Let's say Reliance is coming up and creating a financial infrastructure around. Tata is coming up and creating, and let's say like Tata Coffee, like they are setting up a new venture arm, let's say in the coffee industry, and are looking at acquiring certain things around, and then so they might be raising capital in order to do it. The company would go and sell the initial set of shares, and then the other people would buy in and invest in. Now I might have entered into a project at a lower cost. I might be needing a capital at some point of time, or I might have seen Kitia, I entered at 600, now it's at 1000. I might want to exit at 1000 and then see what happens in later. And then there might be someone else who is seeing that, oh, 1000 is still low potential. The project is to be going at 1500 because they are looking at 3-4 expansion timelines around. So very similar to it in crypto. So let's say earlier the project itself would be raising in capital against which they are selling their cryptocurrencies around. Either that could be for capital, or let's say to incentivize the community. For example, I want to incentivize 1 lakh users to come and start using Coinex platform for say. I would give them that any user who is coming on Coinex platform, I would give you 10 tokens of ours. So you come in, now you would be able to use these tokens, let's say, to buy a phone on Flipkart, or you'd be able to use these tokens to avail XYZ services on Coinex platform. And people who are finding it value would be coming in and taking this. So I've distributed my tokens around to multiple people. Now, these when my project goes live, different set of people have this. These could be employees, these could be initial adopters, these could be investors, similar to how it happens in the stock ecosystem. And then they start, like trading it or exchanging this in secondary markets. And that's how the entire trading slash entire, secondary ecosystem starts opening up. And that's where the retail and the larger people start participating in it.
Okay, thanks. One last question that I have is basically, if correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of, let's say, I'm talking about US, so a lot of startups there who are into blockchain and Web3, apart from offering shares, they also offer their tokens that, hey, if you offer X percentages, you can also get certain number of tokens. Usually the token are always high in quantity versus the number of shares that you can get. So what is like more beneficial as per you? So there are certain scenario where they just offer tokens in their startup that, hey, you can offer the tokens and hopefully the token might have a certain value. So let's say if I want to create a balance between buying shares versus tokens, what should be that accurate balance as per your understanding?
The benefits of tokens is it is like it is easy to exit. So that's the larger benefit from tokens compared to shares. Because in shares, like once you're exiting, and at least from an Indian company point of view, there are a lot of documentations to be involved in and others. But when it's tokens, you can just transfer it in secondary market. So it's as good as company directly getting listed in like in stock exchanges versus you buying in private round. So, like private round versus stock exchanges, you have more liquidity, you have more exit opportunities if you're investing in companies that are public. So that is the benefit of investing in companies that has tokens, because it has immediately access to liquidity on exchanges, access to capital, and you can exit things around very easily without involving in a lot of documentation and transfers around.
But the bigger question here is that how does a token actually gains popularity on the exchange, right? So people are buying, they buy it in the, let's say, private market, and the token gets listed. Now there have to be a demand of sellers, so not sellers, but buyers to buy on the actual exchange, right? So how does these tokens, which just pops out of nowhere, like almost every month I'm seeing at least 3, 4 just pops from nowhere. How does that demand arises for them to, there will be a party who's going to buy and there will be a party who's going to sell. Sell, of course, is easy because they want to sell. But the
Right.
buy party, why they want to buy at a higher price?
That is where
What
the
is those?
entire marketing ecosystem comes in. They market about it. They create the narrative around the
Yeah.
project. They bring in the influencers. They talk more about it. They sponsor it, promote it, etc., etc. So they create the
Absolutely.
demand basically. So that's principle. That's basic principle around the marketing. And the similar principles do apply for this industry as well, in terms of how do you position your project, and then how do you drive that demand around.
Okay, thank you.
So these could be in terms of projection, these could be in terms of the roadmap of the project, could be multiple areas around.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Yeah, Mukund.
You were mentioning that you could list a property on the crypto exchange. Say, suppose if I have a land and if I want to monetize that using crypto, then what's the procedure on a rough note, on a rough idea?
So you have to tokenize the land. It's you cannot directly list the land on an exchange. For example,
How do
let's
you
say
tokenize it?
yeah, talking about it. So let's say you mentioned that this entire in terms of layman terms, let's say you transfer the entire land to a company, and then you sell the shares of this company. You say that this company owns the land, and anyone who is buying shares of this company would be part owners of this. So let's say 100% of the company, 100% of the land is owned by company A, and you are saying that I am looking at offering 10% of this company shares to other people who can come in and invest in. So now someone might be investing in for 1%, someone might be investing for 1.5. So each of us would be micro owners of that larger company, and this company owns that land.
And what is the procedure for tokenizing this, or who can do it for you if I really want to get a trial done on this?
So there are companies who are doing this actually in the
Right.
market. In fact, I am also backing a company called Bonfire.
Bonfire,
Capital,
correct.
which one of the companies that I'm advising. They are based in the US, but they are looking at very high-end deals like $50 million Marriotts, which the general public cannot get access to. And then they have small LLPs or a SPAC or a SPV under which which is actually the owner of that particular piece of property, and then they further tokenize it and send it off to multiple people. We can talk offline if you want to discuss more
Yeah,
details.
you can share your details and I will probably get in touch with you.
Sure.
Second question is, you have these foreign exchanges like Binance now complying with the Indian rules and regulations. It is a news of the last 1 week where they have come and registered with the Indian authorities. What happens with people who have invested in Binance and who hold crypto on Binance, which are not declared? So what happens to such investors who are holding crypto on Binance?
Not declared in terms of income tax.
You are not declared in Indian books.
Understood. So going further, you might have to declare it down, because once Binance and any other exchange are active in India, they would be sharing the information with the government. But most of this information is related to SFT, which is significant financial transaction, or related to AML, KYC, AML, KYT, know your transaction, terror financing. So, like this is similar to basically they're falling under the ambit of self-reporting, where if they see any suspicious transaction around or if they see any anomaly transaction around, they would go and self-report it to the financial intelligence unit in India, mentioning that this is so and so user, this is the transaction that's happening in, and then you might want to look at what's happening in here for the further investigation. So that is primarily the nature of the registration, but then beyond which I think this is only the start. As soon as they come in, they would also have to take care of the TDS compliance and others. So if you're trading on Binance, you would be whenever you're selling in something or you're buying something, there would be TDS deducted on your transactions, and this would be reported automatically against your PAN.
That's
So
already started in Binance because it's just been 1 week.
no, it's not started in Binance. It would get started.
Okay, got it. And what if the investor has already deleted the account and withdrawn all funds about, say, maybe 6 months back or 1 year back, anticipating this kind of a move? What happens to such investors?
Government mandates exchanges to keep information for the last 5 years, immaterial whether the user has deleted the account. So post deletion of the account, the further trades are not accessible, but then the previous 5-year transactions are accessed. So
Wonderful.
governments can request for last 5-year transaction information of a particular user.
Fair enough. I'll wait for your personal details to get in touch with you directly on the land thing and to get some more information on that.
Sounds good. Quick update
Personal
there.
preference.
Binance has not yet completed their registration process with Indian government. It was a leak in media, but then that's not accurate information. Neither the fine that has been mentioned is accurate. It's much higher than what they have, what the media has mentioned.
But I think ultimately they will come to India, na? Looking at the size of the market.
They are planning to. They will, but it's not official yet. And there is, maybe we can take this offline. There is a lot of discussions happening, and they're challenging the entire regulation.
We'll take it offline. I'll wait for your and
Cool.
Swapnadeep's contact details.
Yeah, sure.
Puneet, in interest of time, let's go to the Coinex offering and how we are solving
Sure.
for
Just have
regulation.
one
Because
question. I can
we are
answer that.
already at
Yes, Ankur, please.
So basically, you're talking about real estate tokenization. Is it possible for Indian companies to be listed on crypto exchanges?
So Indian companies directly would not be listed on crypto exchanges. Coins of companies can be, but tokenizing real estate is not still white in India. When I say white, it's not clear in terms of what are the guidelines, the requirements in order to do so. There are few companies, there are few builders who have piloted and tried doing it. Happy to share the information around, but uh, specifics of this can be discussed. Like relevant people to discuss this is lawyers who have been supporting companies and these builders to tokenize their project and access the larger capital. But it's not that straightforward. So if you're asking whether like similar to if I get an MSME IPO or I go for an SEBI IPO for NSE or BSE, can I just go for crypto exchange IPO as well? No, you cannot. The process is much more complicated than how it sounds.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So there's a few companies like Alt that are there now, which are doing real estate fractionalization. But and then Saurabh Raj,
Which
Saurabh Raj-
companies?
So Alt, there are quite a few, right? Alt and Strata, and who got raised by
Okay. Fractional ownership.
fractional
Okay.
ownership. But then there are also a few companies in Web3 space that are trying to look at asset tokenization of the real estate, right, in India. So in fact, one of my friends, a company called Tokenize, run by Saurav Raj, is also working on it. It's very early stages though. Nobody's raised like 10, 20 million. It's very early because the regulations in India are not super clear. So they're figuring out all that as they speak. They're doing pilots. So
Okay.
Correct. And this is the global landscape, in terms of like not only just India, but globally what's happening with crypto across, and then which countries are looking at crypto at what sense. Happy to share this presentation out so that you can have a much more, like deeper analysis in terms of what's happening in at each of those different country. Corely, what's happening with India is, the landscape here, there are more than 1.4 crore users here. Crypto is already being taxed in India. There is 30% tax on profits, 1% TDS that is getting deducted on transactions happening in cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrency do also fall under the PMLA and AML guidelines. Starting, I think, mid 2023. Uh, all the crypto exchanges, or it is called as virtual asset, basically cryptocurrency. The word cryptocurrency by the government authorities are called as virtual digital assets. So all the virtual digital asset service providers, these could be companies who are acting as wallets, acting as exchanges, launching their own coins, etc., etc., would be would have to comply with FIU compliances, financial intelligent unit compliances. There is travel rule also applied to crypto. This means what happens once a crypto is transferred from one account to another account, from one wallet to another account, or one platform to another platform. What are the set of guidelines slash uh, like what other information needs to travel just with the crypto? That is all part of the regulation now, and it is mandated for platforms to maintain all of this. RBI has come up with their own digital currency called as central bank digital currency, e-rupee, which they have already piloted in, and the block and the underlying technology of CBDC is also blockchain. This is something that RBI has come up with, and not just RBI. I guess globally about 30 countries are working on their own CBDCs. So each of this country are creating their digital currency around, and this digital currency would be used for larger payments and infra within the country, and can also be used for cross-border payments. So let's say I want to transfer money to someone else in US. Instead of me going via intermediary bank approaches, etc., etc., the central banks directly would be talking to each other using the rupee infra slash CBDC infra, and I can start transferring the funds there directly. What we do at CoinX primarily is we help all the retail crypto investors who are investing in. So, like in India, there are 1.4 crore users. Globally, there are about 30 crore people. So we help all of them, all of these set of people to come directly connect the platforms where they are buying and selling cryptocurrencies. Today, we support more than 300 platforms at CoinX, more than 25,000 tokens. So you can just come and connect all of these platforms, bring all the transactions from these platforms onto CoinX, and in less than 2 minutes, 3 minutes, generate your entire tax reports. Now, these tax reports, if you're generating from India, would be as per the Indian tax laws. If you're generating from US, would be as per the US laws. For UK, would be as per UK. Coinex supports about 7 countries which are live already, 20 other countries which are going live in next 1.5 months. So 27 countries we are supporting, and anyone across any of these geography can just come into Coinex, download the reports as per their compliance, or as per their country's compliance. So this is one of the product that Coinex has. And now we are also building an entire accounting layer for crypto companies, uh, equivalent of QuickBooks, Xero, Zoho Books, uh, where people can come and start transacting and accounting for all of their transactions on crypto, and then maintaining the entire books around it, and thereby, like allowing them to generate reports like PNL, balance sheet, cash flow, all of this statements for their transactions happening on cryptocurrencies and in bank accounts. So this platform is designed for crypto first companies. So companies that are dealing in cryptocurrencies, using it for either the utility or the security or the transactional, the 5 types that I covered about. If you're using crypto for any of these types, Coinex accounting platform is what you would be looking in for accounting and like managing the entire financial compliances around it. So yep, that was my time. I'm happy to take further questions around, and this is where I can be reachable around. You can email me on punit@coinex.com, or this is the mobile number. It's also on WhatsApp. So yep, happy to take questions.
Puneet, we have only 5 minutes, so in interest of time, we had bunch of questions, but in interest of time, I'll just cover the highlighted ones, right, per se. So, what do you think about the recent regulatory changes, right? So, two landmark things like I could think of in crypto space right now is one is collapse of FTX, which is again an investor darling and considered to be a groundbreaking element in entire crypto space, and also EU bringing MiCA changes, right? Markets in crypto assets regulation. So these two things, one looks like a headwind because when FTX collapsed, everybody's money seemed like vanished into thin air overnight, and then MiCA changes kind of looks like a tailwind that regulators are considering or looking at it as an asset class. So, what is your take on both of these circumstances?
FTX was a financial fraud. It was nothing to do with cryptocurrency ecosystem. It was nothing to do with how crypto regulations are. It was a financial fraud that was executed by the CXO team of FTX, because of which funds were misused. Users' fund were mixed with companies' fund and the other investments. And then when the company's investments took a hit, users' funds also took a hit, and panic was created, and everyone wanted to withdraw their funds at one point of time.
That's right.
And then the company did not have funds to give it to the users, so that is where the entire system collapsed. And but the learnings from it was, how do we start regulating exchanges? How do we ensure that like users' interests are protected, and how do we mitigate these risks of financial frauds by bringing in certain set of risks, checks, balances, so that any and every exchange that is operating in this does not repeat in future.
That's right.
So
So, if we talk about platforms like share equity exchanges, NSE or BSC, they are very highly regulated.
correct.
Crypto exchange equivalents, again, they are at the mercy of the promoters still, right? So,
True.
do you see a way where, probably a governmentization of exchanges would happen, or a strict regulation coming around on the exchanges?
I'm looking governmentization of exchanges is a long way down, the way I see at it. But then there would be very strict regulations coming around for exchanges. Exchanges are also coming up with self-regulations in terms of how do they can, as a group, start, like even before the government is regulating, in what could be the ways that they can start looking at it. They can start, like creating in guidelines, checks, balances around. And then governments are also creating. In Japan has a very good regulation framework for exchanges that are operating in the Japanese market. Um, a lot of it can be taken as an inspiration by other countries who are looking at bringing it up. We so I'm part of Bharat Web3 Association, which is an industry body association for crypto industry in India, and I chair the strategic initiative subcommittee there. So we have been involving with a lot of discussions around different ministries here in India in terms of how cryptos can be regulated, how exchanges can be regulated, what could be the regulation frameworks. I am seeing a lot of it would be coming in the next 1, 2, 3 years, where like a lot of regulation frameworks would be coming in around the exchanges. It has already started. Exchanges are now mandated to be FIU. They're mandated to do KYC. They're mandated to do the self-reporting for AML. They're mandated to do travel rule. So all the like constraints slash concerns that different departments had, that is being addressed already, and there are a lot more the guidelines around consumer protection, consumer funds protection, which is coming in near future. That's on the first part. Second, talking about MICA framework or the MiCA framework that European government is coming up with, there are largely two frameworks that is ruling down in this industry. One created by US, which was also presented under the G20 realm, which is the FSB, Financial Stability Board, that has created a paper around how do global countries regulate cryptocurrencies around. That is one layer. And then the another layer is European Unions as a group. They have come up with MICA framework. MICA is more mature. MICA is more better than FSB framework because MICA looks crypto from the types that I was referring to. So they have created different guidelines for utility, different guidelines for security, different guidelines for transactional, rather than just calling everything as cryptocurrency. So MICA framework is much more matured, much more structured, and depending on how a type of crypto is looked at, they have a clear guidelines around what type of crypto would be falling with what regulations. Sorry, what other type of crypto would be falling under other set of regulations. So that is my take on the MICA framework side, and I see that as a very positive step that is coming in, which will help like expand the entire uh, horizon of crypto industry altogether and bring in larger traditional investors into the crypto realms.
Got it, Puneet. Thank you so much. So one another small extend on the discussion here. We also see volatility in crypto market, right? One day I'm making money on coin, next day it just collapses. Uh, is in the existing framework as of now in India or in US or in Europe, is there a way for me to book capital losses? Because that's the biggest thing, at least वो तो recover करेंगे कि like at least the profit I made in some other asset class, I can offset with these losses. Is that some sort of a facility that is already there in the framework?
In India, no, unfortunately. So in India, only profits you have to pay the taxes. This is a unique setup that is only happening in India, uh, where like governments are saying कि भैया losses तो आपका है, but profit पे हमको tax दे दो. We are हिस्सेदार in your profits. But then globally, people are allowed to offset their losses in crypto with other set of losses overall within the crypto, outside the crypto, in other stock market profits. They're allowed to carry forward their losses in the subsequent years, and then overall, like nurture it. But at India, we do not have this liberty around. In India, only the profits are taxed, the losses are not allowed to be offset, even within crypto or outside crypto.
Got it. So does Coinex have this facility of obviously we are not speaking about India, but the regulations where you can offset losses. Do we also provide that sort of reports or any regulated
We
documents?
do. We have a lot of tax saving strategies on our platform, including tax loss harvesting, including areas where you can, like convert your short-term gains into long-term gains by holding for certain period of time. So Coinex offered a lot of these tax saving strategies to our users.
Right, right. Thank you so much, Punit. So that's primarily it from our end. We would like to hear now from Swadeep. Swadeep, hi Swadeep.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for
Hi.
having me here, Navina
Hi.
and
So
Mr. Hanuman and Sushanto Tharwa. Thank you.
hi, Swadeep.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you very much, Swadeep, for introducing us to Coinex. It's definitely a very interesting segment that we have reviewed. And, Punit, you'll be hearing a lot more stupid questions from us in coming 1 week. So I think you have to prepare for yourself for that.
No. He's very happy to answer any question that you may have. So yeah.
Right. So, just to give a brief on Swadeep, just would like to introduce him. He has more than 2 decades of leadership experience scaling his own ventures and now helping other disruptive technologies raise funds and scale. So, he has raised millions already and is on board for several companies with domain focus on deep tech, space tech, EV, AI, and Web3. He is a graduate from IIT Madras, worked over 10 plus years in groundbreaking technologies of IoT, wearables, artificial heart valves in US. He has also done his research work from Georgia Tech, University of Chicago, and Northwestern. His organization has a world record, and his story is also covered in Amazon best-selling book on entrepreneurship. So he sits on board of Coinex and helped them raise 1.5 million about 2 years ago, and now a small bridge which is closing soon. And before they jump on to a bigger round of Series A, now they also helped strategic partnership with CoinDCX and acquisitions like Crypto Cannon. Now, you're also on board for another similar Web3 company, right? Swadeep, sorry, I'm forgetting.
Bonfire, yes. So I'm advising Bonfire.capital, which does large tokenizers. That's why I jumped in, because you spoke about tokenization of real world assets. That's why I jumped in, because these are another great set of entrepreneurs, like 3 or 4 exits, all multi-million-dollar exits. And I always bet on the entrepreneur first. So, and I knew that I knew Punit from before, which is why I kind of backed him. But yeah, you're right, Avina.
Got it. We would like to hear from you, Swadeep, about your take on Coinex and the framework that they have built and the partnerships that they have right now that's ongoing with CoinDCX, which is the largest crypto exchange in India.
Crypto taxation, yeah. So we actually, I think first of all, I can maybe talk a little more about. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I wish my mother was here to listen to it. Navina, thank you. But first of all, thank you all for joining on a Saturday afternoon. Crypto is exciting. It is crazy. It's volatile. All the different questions that you have. I think I am a hardcore Web2 guy. Okay, so Web3 मेरे को इतनी आसानी से पढ़ नहीं पड़ता. I don't. It's not easy for me to really. At least it was not. Right now, slowly I'm people like Punit and young founders are transitioning me to the dark side, so to speak. I'm just kidding. But it's unless a business has. So I've been traditionally working with EV tech, deep tech, things that are traditionally fundamentally sound unit economics and can be scalable, strong businesses, right? So in the Web3 space as well, of course, we back the founder. In the early stages, we kind of look at founders and the quality of the founders, right? And one of my mentors told me very early on that there are only two things that are common, that are going to be constant in life, right? There's death and taxes. So I said, okay, if somebody is working on tax, I'm all in, especially when India was just about to figure out taxing. It was very early stages, right? A couple of years ago. We were, in fact, the first, pretty much the first solution that we're launching in the market. And anything that's going to change the game, I'm in, right? And it has to make strong business sense to me, right? Even like the real world asset tokenization, that makes sense. It's a real asset, like a asset class out there. It's a real estate, and you're fractionalizing it and giving it to the common man, right? I mean, you don't have, you can't afford a $50 million Marriott, but I can invest $500, $1,000. So it made total sense to me, right? So that's one of the main reasons we looked at CoinX. And of course, I knew Punit from before, and we worked a lot in the COVID relief work together. And they say, a man in his non-profit work more than his actual professional work. And that's when I knew that we had a very mature man with the same head on his shoulders. So that was one big reason for backing. And of course, my close friend family network came in with a good amount, and we raised a good money, $1.5 million. Now we are largest in the country. He's doing very well. He's being very modest. I don't know if he told you folks, but he's now done, last year he did $150 billion of transactions. 100 million plus transactions. He has hundreds of lakhs of users and so on, right? He's the largest now. And the reason why he's the largest in the country is because of the multiple strategies that he used, right? I mean, the very smart, of course, he got a lot of crypto OGs on board, advisors, so they're tweeting about him. He built that good relationship. We acquired Crypto Kanun very early on. Crypto Kanun was a crypto community which had millions of users, right? They talk when I don't know if you know, RBI and crypto were like fighting against each other, the Supreme Court, and they were covering it live from the court. So they had a trusted network, right, of people following them. So we got millions of, when we acquired, we got millions of impressions from day one. Then we tied up with all the exchanges, like literally exclusive contracts, right, and multi-year one-way contracts. So that really helped us to gain traction in the market. And of course, now that's how we have kind of moved into, and to be honest, crypto is, of course, it does fluctuate, but every few years, couple of years, there's always a bull and bear run, even in the stock market, right? And the number of stock, I don't know how many you have, 16 crore, 20 crore stock market users in India. We have about 10% of them are already, or at least that number is in crypto already, right? About 1.6 crore. Let's say even 10% are really serious, like maybe 16 lakh out of the 1.6 crore, right? So I think it's a big enough. The numbers are actually is going up exponentially as we speak. And in terms of regulation, I think this cannot move forward. See, no matter what, some of the crypto enthusiasts and die-hard fans, they'll say, "Oh, this is all decentralized like Wild Wild West." But I don't think for it to grow, it has to have regulation, it has to have taxation. There has to be certain framework and structure in place, right? Any government. So if you look at about a couple of countries in the world, more than about half of them, I think maybe 80 of them are already regulating crypto, and about again half of them, about 40 of them are taxing in the last 24 months, about 2 to 3 years, which is why it's a very important problem to solve. Forget about everything else. Like Punit, I think for solving a fundamental problem of course, government of India likes him because they're he's not only helping taxes but also regulation, and only then will we be able to come in more mainstream, right? So that's the background of why I work with Punit and why we are, I think, doing well. That should, happy to go from here.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Swadeep. I concur with you that, bringing taxation or a framework, regulatory framework, will only allow it and adopting it into a asset class. Without regulation, obviously, that will still remain into the darker side, like you joked about. I mean, it's coming into light right now, but regulation will only strengthen the process.
Yeah, and just to give you an idea, all of you may not be aware, but it's actually much more mainstream than you think it is. Like gold, I don't know if you know, it's already, there's an ETF, like BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, yesterday, 24 hours ago, Morgan Stanley invested a couple $100 million from a New York giant like that, Wall Street giant, into the ETF. It's getting I won't say regularized, or rather getting the mainstream attention that it needs to, right? BlackRock, I mean, this is one of the largest. In fact, ETF is crossed, I think, silver. Correct me if I'm wrong, right, Punit? I think it's going to cross.
Correct, correct. It has crossed silver within first 1.5 months, I guess.
Right, and the volume is exponentially growing. I think it's going to cross Visa. Bitcoin, you can use it to buy. I mean, Emirates tickets is a couple of years ago announced you can buy Teslas, and PayPal. I think 2 or 3 years ago, I remember PayPal CEO had announced saying that their million, I don't know, a couple of million merchants you can use Bitcoin to. So it's actually more mainstream than you think. You can use crypto.com. I think they have a credit card. You can use your crypto, convert it on the spot, buy it, like literally buy coffee in Starbucks, right? They convert. So it's becoming much more mainstream than you think it is.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Good to know this, Pradeep. So yeah, now, Puneet, I have one question. Uh, Right. I have one question. So you Coinex is also collaborated with Clear Tax in India, right? Clear Tax again is a name that we hear so frequently. So how did this collaboration came into picture? Because this is something acceptance of Clear Tax into a crypto space is something that we didn't hear about at all.
Right, understood. So the complementing part between the companies is we have a lot of users who are coming in to calculate their crypto tax calculations on Coinex. And then the next step of calculating your taxation is filing your income tax returns. So there are certain set of users who do self-filing, and they go ahead and directly file their income tax returns using the income tax portal or with platforms like ClearTax, Quico, etc. And these set of users have so we partnered with ClearTax to bring this flow in picture where users were coming and using Coinex. They can start using ClearTax as a platform to take all of this information, take all the calculations that it had with Coinex, and then they can use this information to file their returns. So that is one. Second is all the users who are coming on ClearTax and are also investing in cryptocurrencies. If they want to start looking at what is their gains from cryptocurrencies, they are referred to at Coinex, where they can come and calculate all their taxes and then can go back and take this information for their filing.
Understood. Understood. Thank you, Puneet. I have seen your, file taxes with Coinex on CoinDCX app. I've actually even tried it, but never knew, I always assumed it's a part of CoinDCX, but it's very pleasant to know that you've collaborated with various other tax exchanges, not just CoinDCX. Uh, any other exciting updates that we need to look forward to from Coinex platform?
Sure. So yes, like CoinDCX was the first one that we did deep integration with. So now basically this allows us having a real estate, or we are seated inside the CoinDCX application. Today, Coinex is expanding globally, as I was mentioning, and very soon, I guess in next 2.5 months, you would be seeing us announcing a lot of partnerships with major exchanges. We have already signed an agreement with Binance, which is the largest crypto exchange in the world, doing about $250 billion 24-hour volume, and many more exchanges now. So in less than 2.5 months, we would be announcing partnerships with I guess 6 out of top 15 crypto exchanges globally. So like literally allowing us to address about 200 million crypto investors in next 2.5 months. So that is the scale that we're looking in at. And of course, the accounting platform which we are building, and which we have a series of clients, already coming in and piloting that platform around.
Wonderful. Looking forward to see many more developments, Puneet. Atharva, hi, can you hear us?
Yeah, Navina, thank you. Just to share a little bit on the experience that we've had with working with Puneet and Swadeep, I think, we've understood at this point in time in terms of Lead Angels' thesis is that the crypto industry is one of the most innovative sort of explorations that have come in the past few years. And I think it is here to stay. And we realize that, it is continuously growing, and you having adopters now, can't even call it early adopters. I think it is reaching a level of maturity that now it is going to get into in the next few years. And I think regulations are here to come. I think some like Punit has mentioned, I think some jurisdictions have are a little ahead of others, but I think regulations are here to come. And I think at that point, entrepreneurs like Punit and people like Swadeep, I think are very interesting people to sort of guide us in terms of how the market is going to mature, how the market is going to evolve. And I think thank you very much, Punit, Swadeep, for sharing your views, and the audience for keeping it as interactive, and Navina for being a great host. Uh, I think great thanks to everyone attending.
I have
Thank
one
you
more
so
question,
much.
if you don't mind.
Yes, Mukund, please go ahead.
Do we have any kind of, because we don't know about these cryptocurrencies, these coins, etc. Do we have any kind of something similar with this PMS services where there are experts who take a fee and manage your investments on crypto?
Oh, this is a very interesting question, Mukund. I think I had the same discussion with Harpreet a while ago. Harpreet, is he on the call? No, I don't think he has dropped off. Probably he joined the session. So Harpreet is one of our LM members, who is always, we always exchange ideas about newer technology. We were discussing on the same things. There are few guys like that, but again, since it's widely accepted only a decade ago, there are none that are, I think the
Can
credentials are not
Swadeep or
that
can
set.
Punit throw some light on this, because I'm sure they must
Punit?
be doing.
Yeah, sure. So, I'm not aware of any like similar to in crypto market, there is portfolio advisory license that, SEBI offers it.
Never a
Nothing.
license, never mind the license, there can be advice.
So apart from license, there are CoinDCX has an institutional team, which works with people investing in sizable amount and then manage the entire portfolio for them. Happy to connect to Lohit Gupta, who looks at the complete institutional accounting for or institutional accounts at CoinDCX. Happy to make an introduction, and they would be able to help you with this.
Understood. Okay,
Got it.
fair enough. One more, just nothing
Uh,
more. I'm not asked. Yeah, please go ahead.
No, go ahead, please. I was saying thank you for the time, but go ahead.
Okay, just the last question. Where do you see the crypto prices going on from here? Because we keep hearing different stories, BTC touching 120, 140, 160, so on and so forth. Not taking your quote, but just your view.
Markets are positive in one liner, but
Okay. Fair enough.
but
Fair
yeah,
enough.
So usually for people who are brand new, just look at Bitcoin, ETH, and hold, right? Hodl for long term. That's if you really want to go deeper, then you look at alts and other coins. Otherwise,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, they're risky, and there are also Telegram groups who do that. You need to find on Twitter. They've got a few people. It's very hard to navigate that space unless you know somebody who knows his stuff inside. Talk to them, build your relationship, understand the space. It's just like stock. You can't just blindly go in and invest, right?
Yeah, of course. That's why I was asking for a fund manager.
Right. Punit is
Probably.
okay. Great.
One point to add, and yeah, sorry, just one point to add. Recently, Bitcoin was halved, right? So, if you look at the trend from the last 12 years, usually after halving, there's a lot of movement in price because of obvious reasons. I think time is short. Otherwise, I would have explained the entire economics behind it. Why does it happen? But in short, the number of Bitcoins that are generating and from each block that is added to Bitcoin blockchain is getting halved. So the supply is getting reduced after the supply is getting reduced, and in order for miners to be incentivized and in order for miners to continue doing what they were doing, let's say if you were doing a task yesterday and you were getting 100 rupees for it, today if you're doing the same task and getting 50 rupees for it, you would not be incentivized to keep doing that for a longer period of time. So in order for you to be incentivized, the price had to at least come back to 100, so that it makes sense for you to continue it. And then so this is fundamentally a reason why usually after halving there's a huge movement in pricing, and Bitcoin halving just happened less than a month ago.
April 19th, actually. Yeah, April 19th, 2024. There are 21 million Bitcoins, of which 19 million already mined, 2 million left. So they used to charge, they used to pay 6.25 Bitcoin. Now they're paying 3.125, half of that Bitcoin for every mined block for the miners.
Got,
So
Wonderful. Thank you, Puneet. Thank you, Swadeep, once again for joining us for this insightful discussion today. Right. So again, before we leave, just a disclaimer that again, this session is not an adaptation or a recommendation to invest in cryptocurrency. Sorry, Puneet, we have to declare that once again.
On
So
risk. Yes, absolutely.
thank you once again, everyone, for joining
So
us
much.
today.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank
Thanks a
you,
lot, everyone.
Mukund.
Thank you for inviting. Thanks. Bye.
Ankur.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.